She said, we're live.
Kim's stupid.
There's a big difference when you're live on your phone than when you're live on YouTube.
Yes, it is.
I kept my trusty dusty book with me just in case.
Hey, that's what's up.
It was the 100th year.
Hey, everybody, come on in. Welcome to the Hood Table. I'm here with my girl, Kim. She's my co-host. And we got Marc Nichols on the live stream with us, who we will be interviewing tonight. So I'm going to need everybody to come on in. I need you to share the live out, especially with everybody in Omaha that you know. Put it on your Facebook, your Instagram, your Twitter. Share, 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 share. Make sure you like the video, please. Give the video a thumbs up. Please and thank you very much. Hey, come on in. Come on in. We about to get started.
Hello, Mama Nelly.
You don't need Netflix, you don't need cable. Now on YouTube, welcome to the Hood Table, where we chop up local and globally, been vocally. You don't really wanna miss out on these conversations. Just joke a little, laugh a little, get that one in your system where you laugh a little, expose current events, talk trash a little. You never know, these opinions might flash a little. Get to the content, gotta finish watching. You don't like it, then you uninvited. Bet your friends watching in the house and your job parking lot before you clock it. I don't wanna miss a second. I just content. Everybody think they got something to say, so it's an open invitation. Bring it to the table. But if you come whack, just know we ain't buying in. We gon' probably turn you back and tell you sorry. Try again. Yeah, welcome to the Hood Table. You don't need Netflix, you don't need cable. Yeah, welcome to the Hood Table. You don't need Netflix, you don't need cable.
Hey. Yes, that's my niece Thailand, y'all.
Shout out.
She did good.
If y'all need her information, she does intros, she does collaboration. She's right here from Omaha, Nebraska. So you can hit her up on IG or Facebook, Tylynn Music, TYLYNN Music, and her information will also be in the description box after this video. Yes, that's Carmel Diva. Hey, so what's up, Marc? How are you doing?
I'm good. What's up?
That's good. We are very excited to have you on the Hood Table tonight to speak to us about a few things regarding your book and your career, and of course the Dozens of Cousins, which is one of the largest families here, I believe.
Next to
she said next to theirs.
We might be second in the running.
What did Kim say?
We might be second in the running. Because you know it's them cottons out there.
Them cottons?
Yeah, you part of the cotton group, ain't you?
Yes, them cottons are deep here. Shout out to the cottons too. Hey, Carmel Diva, thanks for tuning in. Carmel Diva is sick, you guys. She's a little under the weather this evening. So make sure you keep her in your prayers this evening, please, and thank you very much. But Marc.
Yep. Hold on. Okay, I'm sorry. I had to grab something real quick.
Did you grab your book?
What's up?
Kim said, did
you grab your book?
Say that again?
Did you grab your book?
I did. I knew it was there somewhere.
Are we still on the right road?
I'm trying to stay on it. You know how hard that is. You know how it goes. You get a little, a detour here, there,
Yeah.
But I'm trying to stay on the straight and narrow.
All right, we all are. That's good, especially with 2020 coming in. I'm looking forward to the new year. And I know you had said before that you might be doing another book as well. So
yeah.
Is that in the works?
I've been contemplating. There's a couple irons in the fire. Another book certainly is something that I would. I basically have the outline for it. I've written a lot of some of the book already. I've even reached out to a couple of my friends, and I wanted to bring a couple of the guys that I knew from when I was a kid back to life. They're no longer with us, and they lost their lives at an early age. And so I'm looking at bringing some of those characters and using those characters right from the city in my next book. So we'll see how that works out.
Interesting. I would definitely be looking forward to that.
Can you put it on a disc too for those that don't like to read?
Those like her. We was talking about books that you can listen to these days, and I'm like, that might be a good idea. Put the book,
like book on tape.
Book on tape.
Yeah, I used to have a boss, and we used to ride out of town, and that's how he listened to his books. And I would force to ride with him and listen to those books on tape for hours at a time. So yeah, I'm very familiar.
Oh, okay. Well, I want to start with first of all, everybody, Marc Nichols. Most of you from Omaha might have heard of him or know him. He is an author of a book called I'm on the Right Road Now. He's born and raised in Omaha, Nebraska, has a lot of family members here, and he made a big impact in a lot of people's lives here before he moved away to Atlanta, where he resides now. So what I would like you to do, Marc, is just tell us a little bit about your background as far as growing up in Omaha, Nebraska, and things that you were involved in with the community. And then we'll go into your book after that.
Okay. A little bit. I think the most noted thing about me was, my dad was a minister there, or a pastor down at on 20th and Benny, 21st and Benny, at the Church of the Living God, at about maybe 40 years ago or so. I think he pastored there from 1960 to about 1983. And my Omaha days is a great place to live. I think it was certainly the foundation of everything and everything that I am. It started right there in the city on 36th Street, North High School, where the football field is now on 36th Street. The beginning of the 100-yard line or the 100-yard 100 dash. That driveway that goes up into North High, that used to be our driveway. So I used to reside there, play football down on Paxton Boulevard with the fellas, from back in the day. I moved away from Omaha at about 15 years old in my second semester at Central High School as a sophomore. Of course, I went to Nathan Hale before that. A lot of my friends there up on 56th and Hartman when they knocked that house down, did a lot of running around there, played for the Little Vikes, and most notably, there's the Midwest Striders. They've really impacted my life. I think as far as sports is concerned, I think the Midwest Striders is probably where a lot of that foundation has come from, and had led me to coach my own team down here in Atlanta, Georgia. So. And one of the things that came from that, I have a bunch of pro athletes right now playing for the Falcons, and one for the Jets, and another was just picked up by the Jaguars. And the fastest man in the world, actually, right now, Mr. Christian Coleman, ran for the Running Panthers, my track club, and I coached him from age 6 to about 16 or 17. So. Had a really a great foundation, and I always credit that to those people that worked with me as a young boy in Omaha, Nebraska. That's a little bit, just a little bit about my Omaha days, I guess.
Yeah, I remember.
You want some more? I can give you some more, but I didn't want to, because I can talk.
No, I remember. I think it was last year. You had went live from, I think, the Falcons. And you were going to see one of the persons that you had coached. Was that
it was actually the Cowboys?
Cowboys was at the game. The Cowboys?
No, it was a Cowboy game. I think I can't remember who they was. Oh, Cowboys were playing the Cardinals. I think it was.
Okay.
I went down to Dallas to watch a game. Yeah.
Okay. I remember.
So yeah, it was pretty. That was pretty interesting.
Was the Cowboys winning?
I had to be a Cowboy again for a day because wherever the kids are, that's who we're gonna support.
Kim said, "Did the
Sorry,
Cowboys
Steelers.
Winning?
She said, "Was they winning that day?"
Yeah, they won. They actually won. They won that day.
Okay.
I can't tell you about yesterday.
I know you hate to go to somebody's game and they lose while you're there, even though you're there to support them, whether they win or lose. But
Yep.
That's great. That's great. So as far as like your book, I'm on the right road now. I had got the book from you when you had did your book signing here in Omaha a couple of years ago, and it was a really nice turnout. A lot of people enjoyed the book. A lot of people enjoyed the book. And one thing that I remember you doing, I haven't seen you do in a minute, but remember how you used to post like different excerpts from the book onto Facebook?
Yeah.
So a lot of people saw some of those excerpts too, and then was drawn to purchase the book from you. So what was it that inspired you to write this book of all these small stories of you growing up here in Omaha?
I think, looking back over the years, in the era that we grew up in, back in the late 60s, early 70s and 80s, we have a lot of the things then, or we had things back then that a lot of the youngsters don't have today. And yet and still, I found a way to really be or go wayward, so to speak. Even though I had both parents in the home for a short amount of time, and my mother passed in 1977 when I was about 10 years old. I still found a way, my father being a preacher and a bishop and overseer, and I found a way to get in trouble and run the streets and do all the kind of things that we like to do. But even as I was doing that, the teachings that I had learned from home never went away. I think the Bible says that raise up a child in the way he should go, and he will not depart from it. And all those years of growing up and the animosity that was built up between my father and I had really boiled over in about 1984, 1983 or so. As I moved from Omaha, Nebraska, I was a very bitter young man. Again, lost my mother, and my father was the focus of all of everything that was bad in my life. Of course, like anyone else, we don't know what we don't know until we know it.
Right.
It took me to become a father before I understood what it was like on the other side of that fence or the other side of that coin. And all those years I was angry, for about 20, 25 years, easy. I was mad about the way my life had turned out and how everything was going for me. And my father passed in 2014. And I had to take a hard look at myself and some of the things that I had done over those years, and some of the things that I had said over those years, and the story that I told. And before he passed, I tried to make amends on several occasions, which I talk about in the book, and I believe we did. And so my way of mourning is a little bit different. We see people on Facebook every day. They lose a parent, and or a child, or a significant other, or someone who's close to them. And I was raised to believe that death is just much a part of living, or as breathing is. And so if you live, you're going to see death. You're going to see someone pass who's close to you. What I've been taught to believe also is that those people never really go. They leave something behind with them. So the day my father passed, I cried, of course, but I decided to tell some stories, and some funny stories that I thought would help me and the rest of my family members, and be a little comedy to other people. Yeah. Tell some stories about myself and my father that others knew about, and sometimes told me about when I was at church or visiting in Omaha, those who were very close to me and my family. And so I looked at that as a way to, as a self-healing a little bit too. As I was writing those stories, after my father's death, I had a friend of mine, and maybe she's listening, maybe she didn't, Miss Stephanie Barnes, who hit me up and she says, "Hey man, stop putting that stuff on Facebook. Why don't you just tell those stories and at some point put it in a manuscript or something for your kids, or even write a book?" And that was far-fetched for me. I don't even have a strong grasp of the English language, let alone writing. I'm kind of like Kim. I'm a little illiterate. Just kidding, Kim. So, so I wrote these stories. I took a year.
Okay, I'm gonna let
and I wrote these stories.
I'm gonna let that one fly.
And I wrote these stories for about a year. Every night I committed an hour to just writing these stories. And something happened as I was writing those stories. I started also looking back at some of the lessons that I had learned through that storm that I was going through. And then once I decided to publish the book, because it wasn't something that I was going to do. I was just going to write it for myself because it was all about self-healing. I decided to share it. And in hopes that others who were like me, who were going through a storm themselves, maybe have lost a parent, maybe, were angry at life. Maybe it was a way to help them heal as well. And maybe they didn't have to go through the storm for as long as I did. Because I can tell you, I probably went through that period for almost 35 years, and it was a heck of a process to come back out on the other side and to see the change, even when you look in your own mirror. So that's what prompted me to write the book, is that I was a very angry young man who was actually going into my middle age just as angry. I hadn't learned to let it go or grasp the concept of forgiveness.
Okay. So some of the things that kind of made you angry, I know your mother had passed, but was it like after she passed, your relationship with your father, was it so much as it was just something from her that you were missing, and not, did you have more like a connection with her over your father, or,
Yeah, I think, there's you lose your parent when they pass, but we lost our mother a lot earlier on because she was fighting cancer. Anyone who's been with a relative or someone who's going through that battle, as a 10-year-old, I probably lost my mother really around 8. Things changed drastically. In the book, in that chapter where I talk about her pulling me into her room and talking to me about death and what's going to happen and what she needs me to do after she's no longer here. It became a reality that I was running from. I believe that, back in those days, my father, when I was born, he's 40 years older than me. I have 8 siblings. And the oldest being 16 years older than I, and the youngest being 2 years younger than I. So there's a huge disparity or a gap there.
Yeah.
And back in those days, men they didn't cook. A lot of them, they didn't clean. They didn't do a lot of those things. And I can remember my father. When my mother passed, he couldn't wash a load of clothes. He couldn't even boil water, to be honest with you. And I had a sister, Janet, rest in peace. She just passed this past summer, who was at Creighton that year. And she would come home and cook every now and again and help do laundry, and whatever she could do, she would do that. And so I got an opportunity to see that. And my father, he always felt that a man shouldn't be alone, that he was really, one of those guys who really thought that man shouldn't be alone. And so he eventually started dating. That was a sore spot, of course.
Yeah.
Because, that ain't my mama, that kind of thing. And he eventually got remarried. a couple of years later, about 3 years down the road, he got married about 1980 or so. And so that not being your mother, coupled with, maybe even having kids of your own, and trying to bring those families together as one, it didn't go so well.
I can
especially when you have older siblings, younger kids, all one family, a very close, tight-knit group. And it was like World War III sometimes in our house, trying to bring those families together. And so I really believe that a lot of that started not when my mother passed, just that portion, but also when he remarried. As little kids do, you're resentful.
Yeah.
And you don't want anyone taking your mother or your father's place. So you lash out, you act out, and sometimes you're a child. And so it doesn't go well.
Yeah.
So I would think that that's what really started.
I got a question. Keontae asked on here, she said that most books are written from a father to a son. Would you ever consider writing a book from a father to a daughter, since you have your own daughter now?
Yeah, I could actually do that. I have a daughter, and she and I are very close. Anyone who knows us knows that throughout her whole life, I have been, one of the centerpieces for her, in everything that she's done, be it track and field or, when she wanted to play basketball and, just being that support system. I think that a father is so important in a child's life, bar none. I mean, be it female or male. And so, I would.
Yeah.
It's a good idea, actually.
Now, one of the comments Sanjay Media made, it says, your book is a piece of literature. It should be required reading in Omaha schools. It reflects a slice of our cultural history. How do you feel about that?
It does.
It does.
Who said that again?
The books that we're reading, the kids are reading now, they don't have our history in there.
They said your book represents some history of Omaha.
Oh, well, I'm flattered that.
Have you heard that before? Because it's.
I've heard something similar. I'm flattered because I really believe that my heart has never left Omaha, Nebraska. It's always been there. I think a lot of people who stayed there, they lost a little. I mean, how can I say this? I've been searching for something like that my whole life, that I lost. I mean, I've never been to another state where kids would get together and go to Creighton University and hang out and play, where they fed you lunch and then bust you home for 15 or 20 days in the summertime to give kids something to do. Kellum League, Little Vikes, all these things, and the parades where I didn't play no drums, and I wasn't in the Salem marching band, but every summer when they was marching from South Omaha to Miller Park or wherever, we were right there on our bicycles. Yeah. I've never seen that in any other city in my whole entire life, in a Black community, marching right down, the middle of our community, before they even built that 75 freeway. That's my memory of Omaha. When I see some of the things that are prevalent now, I'm very happy to see that I went to Mr. Crawford's store on 24th and Evans the other day and bought some items, as a matter of fact, and I don't mind supporting everybody. I'm gonna do it. So I was in there, I bought some socks, I brought a t-shirt, you know what I'm saying? And then they had the grown folks spot right next to it. And so I think one of the things that we have to do is we have to support our folks too. We should want that to thrive. We should want others to come back into the community. When I think about 24th Street now, and sometimes what I do when I get to Omaha, whether I drive or fly in or borrow my brother's car, I drive around Omaha, just around the north side, imagining what used to be there from Kellum all the way up to 72nd, where the old Pizza Hut used to be, Cleopatra's, Joe Tess, all those places. My memory is that's Omaha to me. And it will always be Omaha. I'll always see it that way. It is something that I would cry myself to sleep at night when I moved at 15 years old, and people, when I would go to school, was wondering what's wrong with this kid. Why does he have this bad attitude? You know what? And let me put it this way: without those experiences, without those heartbreaks, without my father getting remarried, without my mother passing on, I couldn't be who I am. I wouldn't understand what it was like to go through a storm. And so I credit not only Omaha, Nebraska, not only those who, those families like the Blues who would help me out. Because I got to throw some of those out. Kathy Trotter, who would pick me up every Saturday and take me to the Kellum League to play ball. The same loud voice and booming voice in the stands at the track meets. Without those people, I couldn't be. And that's what Omaha is to me. And I'm hoping that someday we can get back to that.
Yes, I am hoping so too, especially with some of the things that's been going on lately. We were just talking about, in fact, I had made a post the other day in the Proud to Be from North Omaha group of some of the things that they remember being involved in as a child, some of the programs, the after school activities, because I oftentimes wonder what happened to a lot of these extracurricular activities for children that aren't around anymore. And then, you can't blame a lot of the stuff that's going on, they just don't have nothing to do, but what do you say about that?
I say that we see the effects of some of those programs now that they don't exist. What we are seeing now is directly affected, is directly correlated to some of the things that we discontinued in the past. I think that we change, we evolve. There's no question we evolve. But I think that some of those programs that we had, those are things that maybe we should not evolve from, but go back to. What they say, what do they say? The saying is, oh man, I can't think of the saying, but it's a devil's playground. When you don't have something to do, it's a devil's playground. They're going to find something to do. And so now that we don't have our mentors and some of those people who are...
Idle mind is a devil's playground.
There you go. An idle mind is a devil's playground.
I used to say that to
There has not been something that's more true that's ever been stated. And so if we don't get back to some of those things, if we don't look at, instead of looking at OPS to educate our kids, I think Malcolm X says, why would you allow the enemy to teach your kids? I believe the same, that whatever we have to do, and I've read an article not too long ago that they're actually starting this. A couple of guys, I believe one of the guys' name was Larry Duncan or something like that. I can't remember. But they're starting a program like that to kind of educate our kids on what we need to survive, instead of some of the things that we're actually teaching them that we know that they're never going to use in the future. We're never going to use that. And so we want to make, I believe that we need to go back to that. We need to go back to those programs. I can remember, Mr. Barty up at Nathan Hill, and I don't know if anybody knows Mr. Barty, but he was one of the guys who was in school suspension. And I spent a lot of time in school suspension at Nathan Hill with the clocks covered. I spent a lot of time, getting chastised, or my father coming up to schools. I wasn't, I'm totally different than I was from back then. I think somebody on my Facebook said I was probably one of those little kids with silver teeth. I didn't have silver teeth, but I could have.
Yeah.
So you see those little bad boys with silver teeth. Yeah, that's, So if we don't get back to that, if we don't find a way to capture their minds, what we're going to see is more of the same. And so we really need to do that. And I'm really hoping that at some point we can come together collectively as a community to do that. Because again, even though I don't live in Omaha, my heart's always there.
Yeah, I can tell too because you always here.
Yeah.
Always, you be sneaking up on people.
Be sneaking in, and then we be like, "What? Mark's here at the where? At the what?"
Yeah. I you know, with last year when my sister was diagnosed with bone cancer, I spent a lot of time in Omaha hopefully taking care of her. I'm hoping that that's what we can call it, trying to make sure that all her affairs were in order. Um, and just my aunt who's 88, I want to make sure that that I'm not coming there for a funeral, that I'm celebrating and giving their flowers while they're alive. Far too many times we have family reunions right after the funeral, and the person that we're there celebrating, you know, they're never going to see us again, and hadn't seen us in quite some time, and so we wait for them to have a party when we could have had a party with them. And so I just really believe that there's no amount of money in the world that can you know take their place. So while I have it, I've been blessed to have the ability to go back and forth. So I do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm sure they appreciate you. I know every time you come into town, your Grams, as you would call her, you always over there asking her, what would you like me to cook you or fix you? Or you be doing the grains and everything over there, hooking Grams up every time you come into town. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I do got to say, I do admire you for that. Because, you know, a lot of people, even like in the nursing homes where people just drop their parents off and don't go back and see them or anything, that stay in the city. But here you are thousands of miles away and you still come back to look after your family. I appreciate you for that. I do appreciate you for that.
Well, she used to look out for me. You just don't know. The reason why I'm not in the penitentiary today is because I made a promise to her that I would never go. And she would always talk about, you know, some of our relatives who were, without calling names, who were locked up or who did X, Y, and Z. And, you know, I told her, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Because, you know, she taught me how to cook and taught me how to do a lot of things, you know, after my mother passed, and she was keeping her promise to my mother. And so now it was my turn to keep my promise to her. So I wanted to make sure that I did something where I could come home and make her proud of me. And hopefully that has happened over the course of the last couple decades. So
I think it has.
God, it's hard to say a couple decades, though. It's hard to believe I'm this old.
Yeah, I'm sure she appreciates that. And you're basically like setting a pattern too for your children after you. Like that's one thing I always say when I see, like, okay, you know, I was working in a nursing home for like 6-7 years, and a lot of things I saw was people, like she said, dropping off their loved ones, and then you would see them like when they pass, and they'd be like, "Oh, I'm such and such daughter or son," and I'm like, really? Where are you been? I'm like, they're like, "Oh, I live out of town." I'm like, but still, your parent been living here for like 10 years, and this your first trip home. But anyway, you know, it's kind of like our parents, how, you know, I tell my children, you know, I'm setting a pattern. My great-grandparents, my grandma, when they got sick, they was at home. People took care of them. No nursing homes, you know, and everybody can't, you know, do that, have a family at home when they get sick. But I'm like, you're setting a pattern because your children see what you do and they see how you treat your elders, and that's going to impact them once we get that, you know what I mean? Once we get that age and they be like, oh, I'm looking after my pops, I'm looking after my mom, you know, because that's what I've been taught. So that's a lot of what we need in our community as well, is setting these patterns for our children to follow.
And
well,
there's a lot.
Go ahead, Kim.
There's a lot of people that don't have a choice for putting their parents in nursing homes. Just like me, you know, you as a kid, you was like, I never put my parent in a nursing home. You say that as a kid, but then when you grow up, you just never know. Things happen. Just like with my mom. My mom was in a nursing home for 10 years, but you can best believe I was up there every day.
And you were.
Oh, I remember.
And you were.
I remember.
But my kids.
It's kind of weird what we remember, though.
Yeah, my kids go visit the other people at the nursing homes because they would never get nobody to come see them.
Yeah.
And that just put a smile on their face because people were there to talk to them.
Yeah.
That's all right.
My son Cam, he used to do volunteer work his last year of high school. He did volunteering during the summer at the nursing home, and they loved him. They were like, "Where's your son? Where he at?" But yeah, those
That's
things
all right.
to the elders. So yeah. But oh no, that's just for the phone calls. Now let me read some of these comments. Carmel Diva, aka Chianti, she said those programs that we used to have were integral in shaping and bringing up many people who probably wouldn't be here today without them. Mm-hmm. And that I do agree with that. I do agree with that. A lot of kids have too much time on their hands these days, but anyhow. But as far as, was that 2 years ago? The mayor, was it the mayor who had granted or your family or honored your family, I should say, on the 100th anniversary?
It was the governor, actually.
Oh, it was the governor?
The governor?
I think it was the governor.
Yeah, I think it was, okay, I knew it was the governor or the mayor who had honored your family because you guys have had like the longest standing consecutive annual family reunion ever in Omaha, Nebraska.
Correct.
Were you here when they gave that to your family? Was that
was 2017?
Okay, yeah.
And it was our 100th consecutive. Is our what we call our centennial.
Okay.
And I'm hoping if any of my family members are watching, they don't, I do justice.
I'm sure
by what might be asked.
I see M. Bryant in the chat. I don't know the first name because it's just the initial, but I noticed that Bryant in the chat.
Uh-oh.
But yeah, so tell us a little bit about the history, the background of the dozens of cousins. Because a lot of people, when I mention, because a lot of people know I'm a personal custom cake decorator, and I've had the honor of doing desserts for your holidays, your reunions. But when I mention it, sometimes they be like, dozens of cousins. I'm like, y'all know what dozens of cousins is? But people, like, some people know you guys, like maybe individually or by last name. But when you hear the dozen of cousins, some people are like, well, them, yeah. What you holding there?
You see that?
Dozens.
Cousins. Dozens of cousins.
So who's all in the dozens of cousins?
Yeah, what's the last name?
Who's all in there?
It's actually the Bryant Fisher family.
Okay.
Fisher.
Okay.
So, and we have about 12 branches, and so we got a lot of different last names, that make up the family itself. The Dozens of Cousins is a club or an organization that was founded by three sisters, which would be my great aunts, in a way to keep the family together. As a promise to their mother. They promised their mother that they would keep the family together. And so what they did was they devised a club. And the Dozens of Cousins is the club name. And as you can see, when I held up this says incorporated in 1974. So since 1974 or before, because we're not sure of when they got together to actually do this, it's the Dozens of Cousins Club or organization that helps continue to keep the Bryant Fisher family reunions together, our Christmas parties, our Easter parties, all kind of card parties. We used to have a house at one time on 20th and Wirt, or 21st and Wirt, in between 20th and 21st. And I think was it Wirt or was it Benny? It was one of the two. I think it was Wirt. And so the Dozens of Cousins, we always say, and I'm quoting Sheila Jackson on this one, that you are born into the Bryant Fisher, but you join the Dozens of Cousins. And so as our family moves forward, what we're trying to do is get as many of the descendants, which at last count, there was over 2,000 and some change. We're guesstimating that there's going to be another census. I think we do a census every 5 years or so, that there's going to be over 3,000 descendants. And so hopefully, if we can get all those descendants to sign on as members of the Dozens of Cousins, we'll even grow even bigger and better and do things that hopefully that a family should do to keep their history thriving for years to come. For even we're down to, just in my branch, I think we're at the 12th generation so far, just in my branch. So, and we're not even nowhere near the closest, the largest branch in the family. So it's kind of hard, because right now I serve as the president of the club itself. Another reason why I go back and forth a lot, to have our family meetings that we have once a month, and our heads of family meetings that we try to have once a month. And so those meetings are very intense. And although we're just like any other family, although we fuss, fight, cuss, we also like to have a good time together, and we cherish one another. And when we see each other, you hear us saying "cuz this" and "cuz that," and it ain't because we part of a gang. We part of a gang, but it's another type of gang. You know what I mean? So yeah, and we love our family. So there's nothing that we wouldn't do for it.
Yeah. So is the Dozens of Cousins only celebrated in Omaha?
Well, actually, we have cousins all across the country, and what we're doing right now, we've had reunions in California, Denver, Cincinnati, Atlanta. What we're trying to go back to, that we used to do every other year, every 2 years or so, we get a bus out of Omaha and go to off-site location to have our reunions. They've had one here. My sister, and I believe it was Frankie Jean, who is editor at the Omaha Star, who hosted it when she was living here in the Atlanta area. I didn't get an opportunity to spend a lot of time because I was coaching at the time, but I did get an opportunity to come to the last function or the last event, but I really regret not making it. So no, we just don't do it in Omaha. We do it every year in Omaha. That is the foundation. We won't move that. But there are times when we do go offsite and do it in other areas as well. And we'll be doing it in Denver in 2021.
Okay. Cool. Well, that's cool. That's very interesting. I know we both have had the opportunity to join your family.
We several times. Lucky. Nebraska's lucky.
Oh, and the M. Bryant in the chat, she said that's Melody. That's Melody Bryant in the chat.
Say that again.
The M. Bryant.
Hey, Melody.
Yeah, that's Melody. And your sister said, "Hey, cousin." You there? Tashana Miller.
Who was it again?
Tashana?
Yeah, you can't hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. I think it's a delay. Yeah, Tashana Miller.
Yeah, we have cousins all over the country.
Yeah.
I'll find out. If I don't know who they are, I'll find out.
Well, she called you cousin, so I'm sure. Yeah. And I think I'm saying it right, Tashana. Yeah, Tashana. Yeah. Let me see. Let me make sure. Lisa said hi, Husker chick.
Okay.
She called you knucklehead a little while ago, but you were talking. That was when you was talking about when you were younger, growing up. She had called you knucklehead
with the silver teeth.
Yeah. Well, thanks for breaking that down for us, because you guys are, a very intricate part of Omaha. And some people outside of Omaha who might be watching now, because I have Hood Table members, family subscribers, supporters from all over. And one thing I would like to let them know, for those who don't know, you guys even have famous celebrities from your family lineage.
Oh, yeah.
You want to talk about that person?
Yeah, we do. Well, yeah, Gabrielle, I had an opportunity, because we don't know everybody in our family. When you have 3,000 people, that's a lot of people. So I travel a lot. I'm headed out to LA, jump on a plane in first class. I look over, and none other, I see her. So her sister and I, Kelly, are friends on Facebook. So I text Kelly and I say, "Hey, guess who I'm on a plane with?" She said, "Well, yell at her, talk to her." I said, "Well, no, I don't want to, invade her personal space. I won't do that." So we finally land in LA, and it's the red eye. So we land about 10:30, 11 o'clock or so. It's with celebrities. I get an opportunity to kind of see them and how they treat them. It's like, they get the VIP treatment. They take them off first, and they wait for that person to come. And sometimes they'll go through the terminal, and sometimes they'll go out the door and get in a car and roll out. So as I'm walking off the plane and she's waiting on her escort, I whisper to her, just saying, "Hey, dozens of cousins." I said, hey, DOC. I just said DOC, and she looked. Her eyes got bright. Wait a minute. What do you know about that? And so we had a small exchange, and that's, kind of, my, experience. She was really down to earth. She was cool, talked for a real quick moment. But we also have another rising star rapper. I believe her name is Sweetie, out of LA. So I would be remiss not to, try to push any of those family members forward as well. So if you hadn't heard of her, or if you've heard of her, make sure you try to get her music and check her out as well. So we have a couple, and Gabrielle, she's huge. She's a huge Nebraska fan. She's an Omaha advocate. Everywhere she goes, anyone she talks to, she's putting up her Nebraska. She's proud of Omaha. She wears her gear. So, we don't hate, we help celebrate. So, we want to push her, as far as she's going to go and help support her as well. So she's always pushing Omaha to the forefront. Is one of the reasons why, even with some of the other people that are not part of our family, as they are supporting Omaha and representing, because for those of us who get out a little bit, like yourselves, people don't believe that there's people that look like us in Nebraska. They really do think it's cornfields. And I have to remind people, get it all the time. I mean, I used to live in Japan. I used to live in Thailand and Vietnam and all these places. And when you tell them where you're from in the States, everyone wants to hear New York, LA, or somewhere big and exciting. And you say Nebraska and Omaha, and it's like, who, what? And then even the other brothers that are overseas, they couldn't believe, what, where? You kidding? So, so anytime we get an opportunity, I think, with Mr. Crawford doing his thing and going out to the different venues to watch the fights and make sure you have your gear on, your Nebraska gear on. What that does is it helps support this young man's dream as well. So whoever we can try to support from home, we should, and then give back into our home community. I'll never be an Atlantean. I'll always be from Omaha, Nebraska. You can't be proud of where you're going unless you're proud of where you came from.
I like the fact that he's not only supports, it's Nebraska, but he'll wear Creighton gear as well. Creighton University gear. Now, say your cousin name again. That's the rapper. Did you say Sweetie or Sweetie?
Yeah, Sweetie.
I think I heard of her.
Like Tweety, but Sweetie. Sweetie. Sweet. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it exactly right, but it's either Sweetie or Sweetie. I listen to her music all the time. I'm out in LA all the time.
I know exactly.
And I think she was in concert in Lincoln.
Yeah, I know. That's what I said. I know exactly. It's Sweetie. I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah, she was in concert in. But we not. She's like 20 something. So
Yeah. Well, yeah, I love Gabrielle Union. I love her. I remember now I know that since she's so famous, I do know that her and Dwayne, they do sneak in here a lot like you do. They sneak in, they sneak out a lot of times. But I remember one time when, remember when the parades, the Omaha Day parades used to go down before then by 20th by Coons Park. And she was riding in the back of a drop top, and she was sitting in the back of the drop top, almost fainted. I was like, and that was a time when she was in that movie where they were cheerleaders. That was a while ago.
Oh, yeah.
Bring it on.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And everybody about to die. We was chasing the drop top. Gabby, trying to take their pictures. It's like so amazing. And then another memory I have of Gabrielle, I think that was the same weekend and she was sitting down on 24th Street. And one of my cousins had walked up to her. He wanted to just talk to her so bad. And everybody's like, no, they not letting nobody around her. They not letting nobody around her. And he just walked up to her and he was just like, he couldn't even speak. She said, would you like a beer? And he said, sure. And she handed him a beer and he walked off.
That's all right. I ain't mad.
Starstruck. It was crazy. But yeah, a lot of people don't know that Gabrielle Union is from Omaha, Nebraska, along with a lot of other celebrities, you know, from here.
Yeah, I mean.
So your cousin sings "That's My Type."
That's my type. That's my type.
Yeah.
I told you. I know exactly
I
who
know
you're
who
talking
she is now, but I didn't know her by her name, but I know the song.
So Edie, that's her.
Yeah, we have a lot of very talented people in the family who are doing some big things, and I just, you know, I don't know if we could, you know, have enough time to push those people forward. But wherever I can, I always try to support, you know, my family and Omaha family, especially my North Omaha family, you know, and I get a kick out of it. You know, I go to the games here, a group of us are together. Maybe they're watching, maybe they're not, but we always get together and we do things together here in Atlanta. We throw picnics every year. And we try to take everyone that comes places like the Martin Luther King Center, you know, jazz concerts or whatever's happening in the city. So if you ever get a chance to come to Atlanta, holler at us because we'll try to treat you right.
Well,
you know, because Omaha has to stick together.
I'm gonna have to recall one moment when I came to Atlanta and somebody wasn't available.
Uh-oh. Was it me?
Do you know how many times we kept playing phone tag and we was
I know, right? I try to get to everybody though. If I'm here, I try to meet you out, try to get there, you know, whatever the case may be, you know, but you know how some people are. If you out with somebody, you might, you know, the rumor mill and all that stuff. So I have to be kind of careful too.
I'm like,
in that way.
I appreciate you coming out when me and Roscoe was down there because you showed us a good time and it was nice. And
oh yeah, you know what? You know, I almost forgot you and Roscoe came. We went to that club on Old National.
Yeah. And then
who else came with us? There was some other people that showed up too.
It was Ronette was down there at the time.
Yep, Ronette.
Was Ronette there? Yeah.
We all went out.
Yeah, we had a good time too.
Had a good time. It's a real good time.
Yeah, we had a good time. It was like, you know, I forgot about that till you just mentioned it.
Excuse me, how you gonna forget about that?
There you go.
He said I forgot.
I'll be all over the place. I was in Alaska.
And our hotel was right next to your darn job. So how you gonna forget about that?
Did they
where?
I said our hotel was right next to your darn job. So how you gonna forget about that?
Oh yeah. Right. You was staying downtown at the Hyatt?
Yeah, the Hyatt.
Yeah, I think y'all was at the Hyatt. Yeah. Well, really don't nobody know I got a job. Everybody don't think I had a job, so.
That's right. He ain't got no job, just like
yeah. Everybody don't think I got a job, so.
You know Tim Turner?
You know
Tim Turner, right?
Say that again. Did y'all freeze? Did you freeze?
We did, but now we're back, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Do you know Tim Turner?
I've talked to Tim Turner a million times, but we never hooked up.
Because he's from Omaha too.
Yeah.
See,
we used to be proud to be from North Omaha in the group.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking stuff. I just hadn't had an opportunity to meet him.
Yeah, he's like my brother from another mother.
Yeah.
When we was down there, he has a personal cab driver. I can't think of the guy's name, but yeah, a personal cab driver, right? So we took a tour. He took us all around Atlanta. This was supposed to be a 1-hour tour. That tour turned into 3.5 hours. And he showed us everything. He even took us to Buckhead.
I remember you posted.
Yeah, I posted it. He was so nice and down to earth. And it was just like the Martin Luther King Center. He gave us so much history. It was just unreal. Unreal.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of history here.
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot of history here. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. This place to me is probably, and I know a lot of people say, I read a post today that said everybody want to think they're gonna move to Atlanta and make it and be better here in Dallas or something like that. But there's something that we can learn to bring back home, and how to move, how these people move, how to make our own way, instead of waiting for an opportunity for others to give to us. I didn't at one time. I never wanted to be an entrepreneur, but now I'm understanding that if I become an entrepreneur, then perhaps I can employ people who move like me.
Right.
And so that is really one of the down the line a little bit, that we kind of have to think on that, or think about it, and how we even make our community even better. And so that's one of the things that if I opened a business of my own, it would be in Omaha. It wouldn't be anywhere else, because and it would be on 24th Street somewhere in between, Lake and Ames, or Cummings and Ames, because I just believe that that's where we need to grow. That's where we need to be, and we need to invest our money into, again, if we're not proud of where we're from, how can we be proud of where we're at? Exactly. So, I want to really, be a part of, what's going on great in Omaha, because, I think, it's time to make an impact and change. And there are a lot of people who are doing that. I'm reading on Facebook all the time with some of the things that are coming up with resume building and family services, helping people raise their children,
right,
and showing us a little bit better way, because we have to, we don't look at it the way that we should. I mean, I think, my father being 40 years older than myself, there's something to take away from that. I can see how I deal with my grandchildren. Although I can't move like I used to, I'm a lot more patient, and I understand the ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, and how those things are going to impact their lives as they grow. We need to have that. Some of us older people need to give that information back to our younger people, but they also have to want to learn it as well. And so we need that balance, and hopefully we can come back to that. And I know we don't have a lot of time, so let me say to you and Kim, to Tanya and Kim, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to sit and talk with you guys, an opportunity to talk about my book, and the support that you guys have given me, whether it's making spaghetti for my family reunion, whether it's making cakes for our Christmas party and or family reunion, and any of those things. You guys have been a major support through the from grown folks to proud to be from North Omaha, now through your YouTube channel and station. I'm hoping that I have supported you guys as much as you have supported me, and I'm hoping others will support you in your endeavors, both of you, as you move forward with your photography and your treats and things of that nature. So again, before you have to cut me off, I wanted to make sure that I said thank you and showed my appreciation. And don't forget,
we appreciate you. We appreciate you so much. And yes, you have, supported. You support a lot of people. For one, I would like to mention, Mark used to mentor my oldest son, who used to run track. And he used to meet up with him at all different times out on the track, helping him, with his speed and everything. So, he really appreciates that. And he remembers, a lot of time that you spent with him, motivated him. And also the times where, you helped us, when he was in college, and you helped give us so much direction on what to look for, what not to fall for with all those schools and the loans. And I mean, you really did, look out for us when he was going to college. So I appreciate that. And we still appreciate that too, as well. But One thing I would like you to do before you go, if you don't mind. Could you read a little excerpt, like your favorite little excerpt from your book?
Yeah, so I can know what the book's about since I haven't read it.
Sure.
You're supposed to say you read it from cover to cover. You're supposed to.
I already told him I haven't read it.
I'm gonna
I just ain't read it yet.
She bought the book though. She bought it.
Yeah, she did. She was at the book signing even.
Signed it with you. Yeah.
I was doing pictures, remember?
Yeah, she took the photographs. Yeah.
I read it.
I'm gonna. You know what? I apologize. I think I want to read the preface, and
Okay.
the reason for that is because it kind of gives an idea of the why
Okay.
behind why I wrote it.
Before you start, can you give a shout out to where you can purchase your book? Because someone just asked.
Yeah.
You can get it on Amazon. Also, there is Divine Inspirations in Omaha on 24th and Fairdale Market Plaza. And she has copies in the Fairdale Market Plaza. And she contacted me one day, and thank God for I believe her name is Valerie, and she said she wanted to sell my books, and I was very elated. So if you could please buy it from her, it's an opportunity to support other businesses in the area as well. So Valerie down on the Fairdale Market Plaza in Divine Inspirations, and also on Amazon under my name, because there's another book called I'm on the Right Road Now. But I couldn't change the name of my book because that name meant something. So, and you could copyright two books by the same name. So just make sure that it's Marc L. Nichols, and I could send it to you or post it later on as well for those who are viewing.
Okay.
So,
all right,
that's where you can get it. The preface, I think it's I think that's kind of special for me.
okay.
Because that's a part of the book that I wrote at the very end. It was one of the last parts that I wrote, and it wasn't difficult, but it starts out with a question that someone asked me that I couldn't answer, and I'm hardly ever at a loss for words. And I was at this particular time I was at a loss for words, and it wasn't until I sat down to write that it came to me the why. So in the preface, it talks about, or I'll read it. The day my father passed, I began to write down the short stories that I have told all my life to friends and family members. I started posting them to Facebook. It started out as a way to share funny stories that I could remember about my father. I hoped it would make me and other family members smile through some of the upcoming tough days. I had a host of encouraging comments from my family and friends who sent private messages on Facebook, expressing how much they enjoyed the stories. Others sent text messages, and some called to tell me that the stories kept them laughing most of the day, or even just brightened their day. Some asked me to continue to tell more stories and embarrass myself with more stories of whoopings, and others suggested I write a book made up of these short stories. But there was one person, as there always is, who asked me why I would put all my business on Facebook and share it with the world, most being strangers. Such intimate details of my life. I couldn't answer the question at the time. I just didn't know the answer. Then one night during my evening workout, which consisted of jogging 3 miles and lifting weights, I know you can't tell, but I was, I had an opportunity to marinate on the question. Why would I share the intimate details of my life on Facebook? And just like that, my epiphany was born. I likened it to a child who rises on Christmas Day and can't help but show his or her joy for gifts. I liken it to a teenager who has accomplished 12 years of school and is about to take that final walk across the stage. I liken it to someone who is out of work, bills are due, and he or she gets the call with the job offer. I liken it to a parent who has watched kids all day and finally gets a break with adult interaction. I liken it to someone who has had a long work week and finally it's Friday, time for happy hour. I liken it to someone who has had a spiritual awakening and has seen the light with regard to his or her salvation. My entire life has been a testimony of what God has done for me, the peaks, the valleys, the hurdles, and my failures and successes. Through them all have helped shape and mold my life. Today, when something good happens in your life, you have to tell somebody. You have to share it with someone because you never know whom you might encourage, inspire, or motivate. I shared my lessons because I couldn't keep them to myself. And that was the preface. Hopefully I did myself justice when I read it. I'm not a great reader.
I think the book is absolutely wonderful. When I was reading the book, when I first got it, I was reading it and I was falling asleep with it. The stories were funny. Some of the things you talked about, like some people said, it has a piece of Omaha history in that where you talk about different churches, different places, different people, different hoods that we all hung around in and grew up.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of the stuff was and some of it was, kind of personal, dealing with your mother's passing and your father and everything. I think the book is a great book, and I really, really do suggest that anybody who has not read it yet to please look it up on Amazon and get that book. Really do.
And if people want to buy it, I can sell it myself too. I just don't have any copies. Honestly, I never bought any copies. I never sold any copies on my own because the reality is I wrote it. I didn't think it was that. I'm not going to say I didn't think it was that great. I think it was good for me. Mm-hmm. I think it was more of a healing for me. I didn't push the book because, it was a manuscript that I wrote that I wanted to see through in honor of my father. Mm-hmm. But it didn't matter if I made a dime off of it. It was for my own healing. And so that's one of the reasons why I really never just really pushed it. But I do think that it could help somebody somewhere who's gone through some of the things that I went through.
I do too. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on the platform was to speak about the book and speak about the history of your family and, a little bit about Omaha. Because a lot of people, I'm telling you, like what you said about people don't even believe Black people live here. Like it's 2020 and people are still asking, there are Black people in Omaha. What y'all doing up there?
Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah, I always have to tell them Gabrielle Union and Malcolm X are both from Omaha, Nebraska. Mm-hmm. Go figure. Yeah. And they all know who those people are. Right. Huge impacts on people in their lives and their walk and their talk. So, don't count us out.
Yeah, count us out. Yeah. We got anything you want to say before we go?
I'm going to read the book, Mark. I am.
Yep. Yes, and also
next month you'll be saying, I'm going to read that book. It's only been 4 years.
Yes, it can be purchased through Amazon. It also can be purchased at Divine Inspirations, which is off of 24th and Lake Street. They selling the book right there. And somebody right now said they're on Divine Inspirations website and they're making a purchase right now. And they live in New York City.
Oh,
and
really?
Yes, and they're purchasing your book right now.
If you ever
tell them that if I'm ever in New York, I'll sign it for them.
Someone just asked, are you going to do another book signing?
It's been a thought. I've got a couple offers to be honest. There's a pastor who has asked me to travel with him to talk about the book and do some things. And I mean, if there were enough people that wanted to do another book signing, I certainly would, especially if you're in Omaha. I am there enough to where I could, do a book signing and a reading, and I don't have a problem with doing that because an opportunity to talk to anyone who might want to hear you is an opportunity it's a great opportunity. So yes, I'm open to that. I would do it. Certainly I would do it. Definitely.
All right.
I can do it. Yeah.
Okay. Is there any other questions from the chat before we wrap up? Give him like another few minutes to ask any questions. If you want to ask anything about his book or on the Dozens of Cousins or anything that we spoke about. Last minute questions. And you guys, make sure you guys please share the live. Please share the link. Share it on Facebook, Twitter, IG, whatever your favorite social media platform is. And make sure you guys like the video before we wrap up the interview. Don't forget to hit the like button. Let me see. Is there any more comments? Oh, Tammy says she's buying it right now as well. So you got some books gonna be flying off the shelf this evening. You are welcome.
Well, that's tell anyone who buys that book. I am very appreciative of anyone who would take the time out of their schedule, Kim, to read the book and understand. Even those people who are, hadn't bought the book, who are on Facebook and a part of every morning, my bookers and lookers, the reality is a lot of the reasons why I put some of those things out is I spent so much time being a negative Nancy, someone who wasn't positive about life. We really didn't care too much about his own life. Now I'm trying to take that time to really be a lot more positive and to push that agenda versus the other. So that's one of the reasons why I do that every morning on that page, because the reality is with the passing of my father and us trying to get back together, it was really a life-changing event that has been for the better. Everything that has ever come after that has been nothing but a blessing. So, thank you guys again for all your support. Those who I can't see that may be purchasing the book right now. Thank you. Again, I can't thank you enough.
Oh, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mark. We really appreciate you. Always appreciate you. And as you know, next time you come back through these streets, make sure you hit us up.
You already know. I'm about to buy a ticket now.
Oh, really?
We ain't gonna know.
Yeah.
See, you posted at Leavenworth. Quit playing.
Yeah. Next time, I bet not see no post on Facebook talking about Leavenworth, my favorite spot. Like, we can't get no invite.
Hey, that was all Fred. That was Fred's fault. Fred called me in the middle of the morning talking about let's meet in 30 minutes. I was like, all right. Leavenworth, and you paying?
And
Fred Foster. That's his fault.
And then you couldn't even wait for me for 5 minutes.
We had a meeting. We had our family meeting down at the what you call that? The library down there, the downtown library. I'll be rolling. I'm working right now. Look, right now I got my computer up. I'm working on a presentation for the family for some things that we got going on in the future and our website and all kind of stuff. So I'm off this week. So
you ain't got no job, Tommy. You ain't got no job.
I know, right?
Everybody always say Mark ain't got no job. This man be on a plane every week, flying
twice a week.
Twice a week.
Hey, look, that was a detour. I came to Omaha last time. I wasn't supposed to come. I got to LA and was like, well, all right, because I was leaving Alaska, and there was a plane that was leaving to Omaha. I jumped on it. I was like, okay, well, I'll just go to Omaha then. Got called my nephew, told him I'll be over, and then came to Omaha. So it's like home for me. So you never know when I'll show up.
Everybody
said, who has the luxury to do that?
I'm not saying luxury. There was a plane that was leaving, and so I decided, It
It's
looked
like
good.
coming to Atlanta and then like, oh, there's a plane going to Jamaica.
Let's just hop on a plane.
And see, I'm not doing all that. Y'all the ones going to Jamaica. You never see me out the country. Well, you can, but not on vacation or nothing. I ain't never been on a cruise.
Really?
No.
Oh wow.
And I'm going, but I hadn't been one.
Y'all the plan.
Hopefully my LA family is looking and so we can do it.
Wait, y'all dozens of cousins will take up the whole cruise ship.
I know.
That's a good idea, actually.
That is a good idea. You guys could literally book the whole cruise ship.
Damn near. I don't know. It's a bunch of kids with the teeth. Them gold teeth, though, in our family. Them silver teeth kids.
Yeah. Oh, and Husker chick said she like Leavenworth too.
I can. And look, that was Fred. Y'all call Fred Foster and Melvin Butler.
Okay.
They're the ones who did that. I was just there.
I saw Fred when I was leaving. He was pulling out. And then as soon as as soon as I got to the table, they said they surprised I didn't see you because you had just walked out.
I was standing out there. I thought somebody hit my car.
I probably thought you was one of them other people. That's probably what it was.
Yeah.
I couldn't help it. I know there might be some church folk on here though, but still.
On the hood table.
This is a good idea. The hood table is a good idea. I like that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was something that I've been wanting to do for a minute. You know, I got several YouTube channels. My main one, Tanya's Primetime TV Media Reviews, and then of course my cake decorating channel, Tanya's Delight Slice by Slice. Yeah, I'm putting them out there. A little plug.
Well, that's good.
A little plug.
Well, I know that I'm not going to spoil nothing for nobody else, but I kind of know where you're headed with your thing. So I'm hoping that all that works out and I'll be buying more stuff.
Yes. Thank you. Just keep us in your prayers as we make the right decisions, business ventures and stuff for our catering and things like that. But yeah, the hood table, this is my baby. It's for Omaha, it's for the hood, it's for us. Just something different that I was inspired to do.
And she invited little old me.
And I invited little old her. You know, we go back. But yeah, I've been wanting to do something as far as like social media wise for Omaha. So the hood table.
Well, tell Angry Alice I missed her.
Okay.
Y'all know who Angry Alice is?
You said Angry who?
Who is Angry Alice?
Your caramel diva friend.
Oh, can't see.
She's in the chat.
Oh, she's about to say that. I'm sure.
Caramel Diva, he talking stuff. Somebody said, represent, Mark, represent. Yeah, Caramel Diva, she's been in the chat talking stuff all evening. After the video ends, Mark, you'll be able to go back in and you'll be able to read all the messages in the chat.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah,
that works.
Yeah, but
I appreciate it. I'm gonna find it so I can read all that stuff.
Yeah, but yeah. So thank you so much, Mark. I really appreciate you coming on. I know it's getting late in the evening, and you know people got to get things going. You know,
I ain't got no job, so I'm good.
I know, Tommy, you ain't got no job,
and I'm off all week too. So hey,
aren't you lucky? I'm off tomorrow actually, but they actually want us to do overtime.
Oh, well, get that money.
On my off day.
Get that money, girl.
Get that money.
Vacation, but I'm still working.
Paper chase.
I know.
Shoot, paper chase.
You already know. You already know. Like 11 Jamaican jobs. You already know. But anyway, everybody, thanks for tuning in tonight to the Hood Table and our special guest, Marc Nichols, author of the book, I'm on the Right Road Now. And again, you can pick his book up. There it is. There's the picture of it. There, he said there is another book by the same name, so you have to make sure that you select the one by Marc Nichols. So make sure it's by Marc Nichols. And you can get it at Amazon. And you can, if you're in Omaha, you can also go right down to 24th Street and you can pick it up at Divine Inspirations. They got copies of the book there, or you can go on their website. So any last minute, anything left you want to say, Mark?
Mark, this was
That's it. I appreciate everyone who tuned in, family, Facebook friends, those from New York. I saw some people from New York. I appreciate anyone who came in and enjoyed your show tonight. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. And thank you so much. And on that note, you guys, don't forget again to share the live out. Look up the book on Amazon or Divine Inspirations. And the Hood Table, we're going to go out on our little theme song that, again, is by a local female rap artist by the name of Ty Lynn Music. You guys better look her up. She's pretty dope, y'all. She's pretty dope.
Hey.
You don't need Netflix, you don't need cable. Up on YouTube, welcome to the Hood Table. Where we chop up locally, globally, been spoken. You don't really wanna miss out on these conversations. Just joke a little, laugh a little, get that wine in your system for your glass a little. Expose current events, talk trash a little. You never know these opinions might clash a little. Get addicted to the content, got them binge watching. You don't like it, then you want invited. Bet your friends watching in the house and your job parking lot before you clocking. They don't wanna miss a second of this HD content. Everybody think they got something to say, so it's an open invitation. Bring it to the table. But if you come whack, just know we ain't buying in. We gon' probably turn your back until you start trying again. Yeah, welcome to the Hood Table. You don't need Netflix, you don't need cable. Yeah, welcome to the Hood Table. You don't need Netflix, you don't need cable.
Hey. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. So much. Thanks for tuning in so much, everybody. I really do appreciate it. And everybody who is not already subscribed to the Hood Table family, please support the channel. Please, thank you very much. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know every time we go live. The Hood Table is all about Omaha. We talk about our hood, different other hoods, social, trending news, stories, documentaries, interviews. It's all about the hood, y'all. So make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell. And on that note, we out. Deuces.
Bye, Mark.
Bye.
Bye.